Hey, this is Anthony with RevZilla. We can watch, decide, and ride. Welcome to our detailed breakdown of the new HJC RPHA 11 Pro helmet, available at RevZilla.com. This is the RPHA 11 Pro, unveiled and finally arriving in the fall of 2016. HJC, you done good. I said this in our fall gear guide because this absolutely made the cut and was my favorite helmet on the fall 16 table. If you would have told me 5 years ago that we'd be ranting or raving about an Apex Predator race thoroughbred in the HJC realm at around the $400 mark, I would have said, I am scoffing at you officially. But HJC, you've done your work. Outside of the Italian sexy inspiration, which I think this really gets in my opinion, I'm actually going to give you really the highest degree of points for technicality and innovation. And what jumps out at me, I have my RPHA 11 Pro on the table. I have my RPHA 10 Pro to the left. I'm going to put them right next to each other, and I'm going to tell you what you don't know just by looking at it, considering the fact that it does look different. This helmet is now 3 pounds 2 ounces. This helmet was 3 pounds 9 ounces. They've gone DOT ECE, but they've used new materials with the 6-ply PIM Plus shell, which allows you to use carbon fiber, fiberglass, organic resins, and aramid to make this stronger and lighter, and you've shaved 7 ounces off of it. So we're talking race thoroughbred, 3 pounds 2 ounces. The other thing that you have no idea is really happening, you might deduce if you look at the front of these, this helmet has 5 vents. This helmet has 10, 6 on the front and 4 on the back. And if we think about this helmet from a full face standpoint, we put 200 plus miles on it over the weekend, and it vents better than any race full face we believe we've ever had on our head. And that's going to be at the top of the head and extracting through the back. That's also going to be at the chin with 2 different vents here. You're going to see an open and close, which we had before, and you're going to see 2 cowls on either side that are really this shield material. Behind that is an open and closable vent. On the previous version, the RPHA 10 Pro, they were not open and closable. They were just for show. These foils actually flow a ton of air to the face, where the center vent flows it to the visor. Absolutely huge, dramatic in its venting. Now, I will tell you, they've overhauled the aerodynamic profile. It vents better, it's going to perform better, it's become a bit more compact. They've overhauled the shield and the shield mechanism. Now you get a dark shield with race tear-offs as well as Pinlock-ready. You also get a clear shield coming both stock in the box, and this again is going to be heavy duty, optically correct polycarb. This one we have the Pinlock Max Vision installed. The Pinlock Max Vision lens, which you can see it on the back side here, absolutely comes with it. You can swap it between, and the clear shield is going to have your tear-off posts as well. And HJC has also forever had a really rocking shield change mechanism. So again, this is the helmet that we looked at it and we said, wow, Jorge Lorenzo, you had to be sad that this was the year that you went off of HJC and moved to your new sponsor, because the RPHA 11 Pro completely kicks ass. I do have 2 gripes with it, and the first gripe I'm going to talk about as we work our way into sizing. And that is really the fact that the sizing slightly changed. It's still going to be race fit, and it's still intermediate oval in its head shape. Race fit means it's snug around the jawline. They now have emergency cheek pad removal system, which they didn't have before. You've upgraded your interior, but again, intermediate oval with a snug fit in the jaw. My issue with this helmet is that if you wore a medium in the previous HJC helmets, you're actually going to wear a large in the new RPHA 11 Pro. The sizing is 1 size off. It fits 1 size small. So use the same HJC size chart, and then you need to buy the size up. Keep that in mind. Sometimes we say things run a half size small. If you're on the cusp, go up. In this one, look at what the medium says and buy a large if you fall within medium. If the size chart says you're a large, you need to buy an extra large. That is my biggest gripe, because ultimately I want to see manufacturers make helmets that don't confuse people, and I think that's going to be a little confusing. Outside of that, for around the $400 mark, in a category that is very competitive at this point, with Bell helmets, with some new Shoei helmets coming into that price range, this guy is going to kick ass, take names, and really compete strongly in what I would consider a premium feature set without spending $800. Now, remember, size-wise, we'll ship for free over $39. Use the size chart. We already talked about it. And subscribe to us at RevZilla on our YouTube channel. Leave me your comments, your questions, your feedback on the new RPHA 11 Pro if you want to join the conversation. Let's start with my other gripe, though. I said there were 2. The other gripe, and I love that we discovered this, and I love that actually I didn't pick up on this. It was actually Buzzsaw, who's like our Stig behind the scenes. He said, you know what? He goes, that last detent sucks. And I said, Buzzsaw, why does it suck? And he goes, we were working with it, and he goes, it's too soft. It's going to close on you. So if you look at this, great shield mechanism. Up and down, locks in at the top. You have solid detents. That last detent for the city position, it just comes down way too easily. It's almost too easy of a detent, and I actually think that's incurred by the fact that this whole shield change mechanism, or the shield mechanism on the side, it wants to pull this down and suck it in. So when you get to the tail end, it's just kind of ready for you to do it. That is really our only other gripe with this helmet. Notice it's center lock. You do have the cracked position for the city. This one-up position was our issue. The city position works just fine. But again, this is so it's ambidextrous. Either hand to reach to the center line and move it up and down. That would be our other gripe. Now, that being said, you can tell that I'm overtly positive, because when I look at around the $400+ investment and I look at everything you're getting in this helmet, lightweight, ventilation, performance, track readiness, I'm kind of over the moon on it. I think they've done a killer job. And remember, if you're in the upright riding position on your bike, if you're thinking a touring bike, it's not the right positioning. This is a race thoroughbred. You're gonna be in the tuck or you wanna be in the 3/4. If you're too upright, it's just not gonna be the right setup for you. You can make that choice, but I think you're gonna be wasting a lot of the premium features that are tuned for the track. Now, let's start from our outside and work our way in and talk a little bit about some of the things we've talked about already and some of the new things we haven't covered. Remember, it's PIM Plus, premium integrated metrics, all the materials we talked about. New shield or new shell material allows it to get lighter. They've also redesigned the venting. So we start down here. Remember, these foils now fully vent to the face. The middle vent goes to the shield, and again, the fact that you have your Pinlock Max Vision as well, this isn't going to fog on you. Don't worry about it. Other changes they made, we talked about multiple shields being included. They've also upgraded this gasket. This gasket's now a little beefier. It's going to create a more positive seal, and that's going to be from wind, from noise, from weather, depending on the conditions you're riding in. The other thing to think about when we get into the shield as well is they've given you another few millimeters of visibility. They've actually raised the viewing profile. It's no longer wider left to right, but it's wider top to bottom. So you have about 5 millimeters. You're going to get about 3 degrees when you start to look up, knowing that your chin will be very close to the tank. You're getting a little bit of room to breathe there. Now, if I look here, you're also for the first time seeing a brow vent. If I slide this guy over next to our really sad RPHA 10, sorry RPHA 10, you're really sad because you just got completely hosed by the new RPHA 11. Now we have an additional open and close positive vent on top of the shield, venting into the forehead and up across the top of your head. Again, it's all about air induction here on the front. The other thing you're going to notice, it makes sense to immediately work our way in. They've maximized the placement of these vents. They've just slightly moved them, again, staying with the aerodynamic profile to better induce airflow into the helmet. And when we pull this guy apart, you're going to see where that enters and exits the EPS. Now, the other thing that's really cool here is put them both side to side and look at the wheel on the vent. The vent over here, this is a plastic wheel. It's a nice little click there. Is it as satisfying as this wheel that has a big raised area you can easily find with a gloved hand and has rubber on it to interact with your glove? I like the new wheel better. It's very satisfying from a I found it standpoint, and it's very satisfying from a this is honestly clicking and moving where I need it to be. So again, they're upgrading that. They also gave you the rubber, so it's going to be easier to find it and catch versus slide off of it. If we move around to the back, one of the things I'm going to start with is down low. If we look down low, these two winglets are air extractors out the back. They're brand new. They didn't exist before. They're part of the 5 new vents. And what they've done on top is the previous foil system was pretty much covered. If we look at them next to each other, you see these 2 holes at the top and the vents are underneath. What they've done is they've cut this away. And you can see how they've cut it away with the big point of air that's going to come underneath over these Venturi vents. It actually is going to give you the ability to be more stable and reduce some of that drag, reduce some of that Z coefficient, which creates lift. But it's done more importantly to guide more air over the holes, which are going to be extractors with that Venturi effect, pulling warm, moist air out of the helmet. And they're going to do it down here along the back side as well. So again, a complete overhaul to the back of the helmet. Yeah, it looks badass. Yeah, it's for aerodynamics, but it's really aiding in airflow. Now, when I slide it around to the side, before I turn it on its ear and rip it apart, notice the side profile here as well. And what they've done is they've given you that better cutout along this now emergency cheek pad removal system, and that's really going to give you a little bit more room to breathe along your collarbone. What they find is that straight shot across the bottom can actually introduce and impact your collarbone. It can be a gnarly crash, but depending on how you crash, this gives you a little bit more room to move, a little bit more room to operate, and a little bit more ground clearance from the bottom of the helmet to your collarbone. Keep that in mind. Now I'm going to move my RPHA 10 Pro over here to the side. I'm going to grab my donut and we're going to flip it on its ear and we're going to rip it down. So if we open it up from the bottom up, notice on my table here, I do have the removable chin curtain. That comes stock. I pulled it off. I'm not using it anymore. On the bottom here, I have an emergency cheek pad removal system. This is for EMTs. This is for when you're knocked out because you were going too fast. Notice how quickly that slid out. Now it does snap in, and those snaps actually need to be removed by hand now and put back together. But if somebody that's not you because you're unconscious needs to get this thing off in a jiffy, you now have the ability ability to slide that right out, remove the tension around your face, and port it right off of your head without moving your body position. What I'll also note is on the inside of the helmet now they're using Polygene, new material. It's an upgrade over the previous material. It's more luxurious, but it also has a baked-in silver ion factor, which is going to be naturally antimicrobial. Some interior linings on cheaper helmets will use a coating that wears off over time to defuncify the helmet. What this does is it actually bakes that silver factor into the material itself. Silver is naturally antibacterial, so again, it doesn't wear off with time. And notice the way this is done up around the temple. This material right here is where you'd potentially add eyeglasses to this. So they did that. They completely changed the density and gave you room to move. It's still going to be wicking. That's a point where you're going to sweat, but if you want to put eyeglasses or sunglasses in, you absolutely can. And notice that the neck roll and the cheek pad came off together. They've added a reflective pop as well. There was no reflective on the previous version. Now I'm going to snap out my other side and show you how they do that. Again, notice how easily it came in. Notice the tabs along the side. I will tell you the way that this is done, the rubberized gasket, you could add a comm unit to this helmet on the side, and you don't have a ton of room behind it here. That was one of the things that you were thinking about, is how they laid this out. You do have a speaker pocket that is removable. It's actually a device. This speaker pocket right here creates some room behind it, and it gives you it's an oval cutaway. It's not the full round cutaway, but what it does more importantly is it bridges the gap. So if you're not using a comm unit, you have this area that can be removed, which is going to bridge a gap between your ear to try to eliminate wind noise. I will tell you, if you're riding with the amount of airflow that this has, and you pull this piece out, you're creating a little bit of space between your ear and the helmet even further, and you're just adding an area for sound to penetrate, create more wind noise. You're going to get better circulation there, but again, that's going to be up to you, and that's your ability to tune this helmet. If we look at the back side, open this guy up. Almost lost it there. Notice it's doing the smart HJC thing, which they've been doing forever. Connection points at the helmet along the brow, not in snaps that are going to give you pressure points. The backside doesn't matter because it's below your occipital ridge on your head. That's the lump on the back of your head. Now, if we look at it, you're going to have 3D mesh, 3D foam, everything's cut away. Again, it's optimized. Riding on a track, if you are really pushing it to the extremes, is an aerobic activity. They want to give you the best chance for airflow. And remember, it's that Polygene silver infused lining that's really going to stay unfunky over time. These are easy to clean too. You just run them under water, let them air dry, you're good to go. Now, if we open the helmet, this is when it gets fancy again. We look at it here. The inside of this helmet has a ton of channels, ton of grooves, and a ton of holes. That means great airflow from front to back throughout the helmet, keeping you cool, keeping you comfortable, and keeping you dry as you ride. That is your right as a motorcyclist that is investing at north of the $250 level. That is what you're investing in. Technology that's going to keep you comfortable, keep you cool, because if you're not thinking about this helmet doesn't fit, this helmet is too hot, this helmet is not balanced, all the things that this helmet will do well are going to keep you focused on the task at hand, whether it be spirited road riding, which if you're in the tuck position you're already doing, or track riding or racing, because you want to forget that you're even wearing gear, be neutral with the motorcycle, and be one with the track and the other riders on the track. That is your goal, and I believe that HJC is giving you a great opportunity to achieve that goal. Yes, that is an endorsement from us. The next step in your journey is to click the info button, your desktop, your mobile device. Visit the product detail page at RevZilla.com. Read other rider reviews. You've heard me gush about it. Based on our experience using it, see what other riders are saying. You shouldn't just take my word for it. As always, we'll ship for free over 30 bucks. If you want to talk to a gear geek, see us at RevZilla.com or 877-792-9455. Thanks for watching our detailed breakdown. Remember, subscribe to us at RevZilla on our YouTube channel. Leave me your comments, your questions, your feedback, but more importantly, stay up to date with our opinion of the latest and greatest in the motorcycle universe. I'm Anthony. We'll see you next time.